Hello, this is Bella, and I am back with today's lesson, the classical schools of psychology, 5 great thinkers and their ideas. Hope you enjoy. The roots of psychology can be traced back about 2400 years to ancient Greek philosophers. However, as stated earlier, the beginning of scientific psychology is usually associated with the date 1879, the year that a German scientist named Wilhelm Wundt found the first psychological laboratory at the University of Leipzig in Germany. Modern psychology arose in the context of what are known as the schools of psychology. In this case, the word school is used similarly to the word group. There is a leader and a group of followers. The school has a viewpoint and a set of important assumptions. Structuralism, Wilhelm Wundt. From a historical perspective, the first school of psychology to be established was Structuralism. Its founding personality was Wilhelm Wundt, 1832 to 1920. Wundt was trained in physiology, the study of the functions of the body. He became interested in studying not so much about the physiology of the sense organs such as the eyes and the ears, but in how simple sensations associated with the same sense organs combine to form what we call the human consciousness. Wundt trained assistants in the art of introspection, a skill characterized by paying attention not only to the whole pattern of the stimulus, but to an elemental part of the stimulus. Consequently, a trained introspection was not supposed to say, I see a tree. Instead, he or she was supposed to say, I see here a patch of green and I see there a bit of brown, and so forth. Check this out on Power of Introspection. William James, 1842 to 1910, teaching at Harvard in the 1870s, was following Wundt's research with interest. James had an interest not only in psychology, but also in physiology and eventually in philosophy. James founded a psychological laboratory at Harvard. He also authored The Principles of Psychology, the first psychology textbook published in the United States. The book was published in 1890, and this can also be taken as the date when the school of psychology known as Functionalism was finally born. The principal personality associated with it is James, and he is said to be the dean of the American psychologists. According to James, psychology should be more interested in how the mind functions or works than how it is structured. Consequently, there was growth of functionalism. James stressed the importance of studying such processes as thinking, memory, and attention. In brief, functionalism as a school of psychology asserts that the primary purpose of psychology should be to study the functions of human consciousness and not its structures. According to James, psychology should be interested primarily in how the mind functions. Gestalt. The German psychologist Max Wertheimer, 1880 to 1943, like James, was also dissatisfied with Wundt's structuralism. Wertheimer believed that Wundt's emphasis on the importance of simple sensations as the building blocks of perceptions was misguided. According to Wertheimer, a melody, for example, is more than an aggregate of sensations, it is a pattern, and the perception of the melody depends much more on the pattern itself than on the individual notes. Gestalt is usually translated as a pattern, a configuration, or an organized whole. In 1910, Wertheimer published an article setting forth the basic assumptions of Gestalt psychology, and this is usually taken to be the starting date of the school. This was followed by behaviorism. Behaviorism is the fourth classical school of psychology. Its founding personality is John B. Watson. 1878 to 1958. A wave of enthusiasm for Watson's ideas swept him to the presidency of the American Psychological Association, APA, in 1915. And this can be taken as the starting date for behaviorism. Next came the psychoanalytic viewpoint. The father of psychoanalysis is Sigmund Freud, 1856 to 1939. Freud was a medical doctor with a specialty in neurology. His findings and conclusions are based primarily on his work with patients. Early in his career, he concluded that a large number of people with neurological symptoms such as paralysis, a numb feeling in a hand or foot, complete or partial blindness, chronic headaches, and similar complaints had no organic pathology. They were not biologically sick. Instead, their symptoms were produced by intense emotional conflicts. Freud asserted that human beings have an unconscious mental life. This is the principal assumption of psychoanalysis. The kind of mental information repressed tends to fall into three primary categories: painful childhood memories, forbidden sexual wishes, and forbidden aggressive wishes. Psychoanalysis is not only a school of psychology but also a method of therapy. The next school was the humanistic school. The humanistic approach in psychology is also referred to as the third force in psychology after psychoanalysis and behaviorism. It was developed as a criticism against psychoanalysis and behaviorism, and it focused on the uniqueness of human beings and their capacity for choice, growth, and psychological health. Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow were two of the major renowned humanistic thinkers. The cognitive school followed the humanistic school. This school grew from the dissatisfaction towards the behaviorists during the 1950s, focusing on mental processes including how people think, perceive, remember, and learn. It became a dominant approach in the 1970s, gradually developing through the works of Jean Piaget and Edward Tolman. Constructivism is yet another school of thought which combines different forms of psychotherapy and believes that everyone's sense of knowing is more than a passive expression of the world around us, but instead, it is a result of our beliefs, emotions, and construction of our experiences in our lives. Therefore, it focuses on both internal and external systems of meaning making. Psychologist George Kelly was the first to develop a theory along constructivist ideas, also known as the fixed role therapy. Tune in next week for the branches of psychology. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.